Welcome to Get Serious. Excited to be back here after returning from the Landon Conference. I know some of you may have read my newsletter earlier today on some of those takeaways. I think it bears worth repeating in this format too, even just for the sake of reminding myself here. And, just absolutely jam-packed itinerary. No one plans events better than Dave Deniston. And I know that this took a lot out of him, but, we all appreciate your efforts here, Dave. And in terms of, just the quality and caliber of folks attending, I've never been to a land conference with, that was just so stacked is the wording that I was using. Just, both from like brand recognition, the names being there and, just the size of the operations, a number of the folks attending that were actually there all in person. So it was just extremely invigorating, and I learned a lot from having such fascinating conversations with you all there. I think everybody gets tired out from these things by the end of it, but the overall direction and moving forward is just such a multiplicative effect. I think when we all come home from those type of events and ready to take additional action there. So couldn't be more thankful to attend and contribute there, as well as get to see so many of my now closer friends that developed relationships over the years here. So that's probably the most fun part, and just getting some great laughs in between all of the learning. So just to center in on what I thought was the number one takeaway is just the level of focus required to succeed in this market, especially. And even if you say, oh yeah, okay, everybody knows you got to focus here. Okay, down market, sure. But, even if the market turns more bullish, like the most focused operators are going to win, and they're going to build more momentum during a, potentially, more bearish conditions than folks who are just kind of scrambling and trying one thing, trying another thing. And what I really noticed is that the largest operators and running the most sophisticated operations, like 201, they are just consolidating what they're doing to focus in on key areas. And some of these are were more recent changes. Like I remember talking with some of these folks earlier in this year, and they had, or maybe, late last year, especially again, in kind of a mini bull run that we had in the land industry. I remember talking to them like, yeah, I'm going to go more into this area and this area. And I was doing the same thing. I was like, yeah, we can, already even start looking like, is it possible we can accelerate into like AI data center land identification and much larger subdivide projects, and like trying to tackle all this at once, and you play that out like 8 months later, and it was just like unrealistic and far too risky to kind of pursue that, especially when things got tighter by Q2 of this year here. So I think everybody kind of felt that shakiness within the market, and just realizing, okay, like to really succeed here, like you need to double down even more, because again, if you enter into any other new area too, like you're probably going to run into another, crazy solid operator who's only focused in that area as well. So like the overall level of competition is just continuing to rapidly increase. People are working with better levels of information. The tool sets and software and data are just all better. Marketing techniques are better, and this is all going against like a general macro and generally smaller not just macro, but also from a bottom up perspective of just tighter markets in general across much of the country. And so like that, kind of creates this playing field that gets tight super quickly, since, it's a trickier time within the industry at the same time that your competition is continuing to get that much better, and the players are getting bigger year after year. So that's what I really noticed across a number of individuals, the ones who are really finding success within this more difficult market. And, we would throw ourselves in there as well, too. I mean, we probably throw out 99% of opportunities sent our way. And, and that's not just land deals, but, people will send stuff that is kind of primarily improved lots, or they'll be looking for us to invest in some type of startup or commercial business that is going to provide some service on top of some land, so like some longer term cash flow opportunity. So we've seen things like that come in, or I'm trying to think of some of these other ones that were just a bit stranger. Either way, there's a whole bunch. Like, I can't even really mention them at the moment right now, just because like as soon as they're just kind of tossed out, and I have my ops manager toss them out as well too, just because we can't afford to get distracted by anything that's outside of our core areas here. And again, normally like I'm just more inclined personality wise, just saying yes to a number of things, but it's just a reminder of like how long it takes to get really, really good in one area, and how long it can take to, find repeatable and sustained success in an area. Like sometimes it can take years to get good. Like we've been in the land industry for a while, and in some ways, like I feel like, even the last few months, and like just hitting my stride here, just because like we start unlocking higher and higher levels of performance. And it's like, man, if I would have known, again, I've just been paying the ignorance tax for so long in so many different areas, didn't have the resources or the skill set to see things as clearly in the past. And so what can you do? You can't jump back in time there. So I just have to take the learnings that I've gotten, and be ready to move forward and use what time I still have remaining to continue to find success. So that's just another point towards the focus equation. But, the folks that seem to be struggling the most were on average, smaller operators, but not always. Like there were some newer operators who had come into the industry within like the last year even, and were really, really dead set focused on one area. And they were starting to find some, quick success. And, you can always potentially attribute, and I think they were being modest, like, yeah, it could like be a bit of beginner's luck, etc. But especially in a tough market like this, and you start getting, sustained results, like, luck sure is always part of the equation here, but the longer you've been doing something, the less you can attribute any potential luck to it. Like I think it's far more likely there was just a skill part of the equation, and like it was just reinforcing the sense of, hey, this person is dead set focused on this particular area. Maybe other parts of their operations were a mess, but they were focused on doing one thing really, really well. But the folks that I think were struggling a bit more, not saying they can't turn it around, certainly, as I think everybody attending was like a serious it takes a lot to show up at these conferences, and I applaud everybody who wants to put time in to better themselves and better their business. Like I'm always going to root for any ethically operating entrepreneur. Like those are just my kind of people. But just noting some folks that are having to balance a W-2 with their land operations, and even within their land operations, they're trying different strategies, whether it's marketing, different marketing techniques mixed between different types of properties, either flips or subdivides, entitlements. All of those are like a skill set that, there's some carryover in between it, but, to really excel in one area is already so hard. Plus, again, if like some of your core mental energy is being utilized by another full-time role outside of the land business, like that is so hard to succeed when you're in a position like that, especially again, going up against, some of the, the full-time operators who have tremendously more resources and they're dead set focused in one area. That was definitely a key distinction that I was noting, and I think it's kind of the story of the industry. There's 60 some odd land investors at the conference, but out of the thousands that are actually spread across the industry, I think that's just the general trend that you could extrapolate from the smaller pod that we had together there. So Just wanted to share some key insights from that regard. Again, you can see my thoughts from the written post from earlier today, or it'll be posted on the website later on. But if there is any takeaway for succeeding in business, like, you just got to stay focused. It's boring. Everybody wants to do more, especially entrepreneurs. But the fastest and most simple way to achieve the success that you want and create the life of your dreams is just to stay focused. Don't get distracted. Easier said than done, but that is the route. And that is why there aren't that many people who find a way to win and create that freedom they want for themselves. But the pathway is there. And if you follow the plan, you will get there. I'm saying that to remind myself. With that in mind, seriousland.capital for any of your funding needs. Land Daily Diligence Facebook group for zero cost review of your land deals, and landpricer.ai for the most reliable land funding, our land pricing tool on the market. A lot more updates there. Had a lot of exciting news from the conference and feedback on it. Looking forward to sharing more. Take care, everybody. Subscribe and share. Bye.